Okay, so how many grams of hydrogen gas are produced from 141 grams of calcium hydride, CaH2? So they give you this, and it's already balanced, but I always like to check to see if stuff's balanced anyway, because my professor would put equations that looked balanced, but then really weren't, just to test us, so I got used to that. So I've got 1 calcium on the reactant side, and I've got 1 calcium on the product side. I've got 1, 2, plus 4, that's 6 hydrogens on the reactant side, and I've got 2 plus 4, that's 6 hydrogens on the product side. And then I have 2 oxygens on the reactant side, and I have 2 oxygens on the product side, so this is balanced. Now they're asking us how many grams of hydrogen gas are produced from 141 grams of calcium hydride. So I know that I'm going to do one of those four-step conversion problems where I go from grams of CaH2 to moles of CaH2, and then I go moles of CaH2 to moles of H2, and then I go moles of H2 to grams of H2. So for that, I'm going to need to do these calculations in which I say, okay, I've got 1 calcium and 2 hydrogens in calcium hydride. So 1 and 2, and then I go to the periodic table and look for those atomic masses. I just kind of memorized the 1.0079 from the periodic table that I used when I was doing this, but I see the one in your book is 1.008. So sorry about that, but at least it's a little more precise. Okay, so multiply, multiply, add, and that is 42 point blah 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 grams of calcium hydride in 1 mole of calcium hydride. So then I do it again for H2. So H is my element, 2 is how much I have in H2, multiply by the atomic mass, and I get 2 point blah 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 grams of H2 in 1 mole of H2. Okay, so then it's time for this guy. All right, so I go ahead and set up my 4 steps because I know I'm going to need that. And notice that the first about half of this is all calcium hydride, and then the latter half is all hydrogen gas. And then also notice I go grams to moles, moles to moles, moles to grams. So I start off with let's do it this way so it's less scary. Okay, so I start off with the 141 grams of CaH2 that they gave me. And then because grams of CaH2 is in the numerator, I know that next I'll need to have grams of CaH2 in the denominator, and that I'll need to go to moles. But I have this conversion, so 1 mole is the 42 blah 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 grams. And then next, I've got moles of CaH2, right? So I know that that's going to need to go in the denominator here. And then this part is the molar ratio that comes purely from the coefficients in your reaction. So I've got an understood 1 in front of here. So that's 1 mole of CaH2. And then I've got a 2 in front of the hydrogen gas. So that's 2 moles of H2. So this is saying for every 1 mole of calcium hydride used, you produce 2 moles of hydrogen gas. And so now I've got moles of H2, the last step, and some problems ask for it just in moles. So you'd stop here, but this problem asked for it in grams. So moles of H2 here mean moles of H2 here, and we're going moles to grams. And from this number, we know that we've got 2 point something grams of H2 for every 1 mole of H2. So then you just stick it in your calculator, and remember the foolproof way to get it right is to do open parenthesis this times this times this times this, close parenthesis, divide, open parenthesis, this times this times this, close parenthesis. And I get 13.5 grams of H2, because this cancels with this with this with this, leaves you with grams of H2. All right.